What I have done here, we're ready to bake the batter and make our Financier. So I've laid out the molds on a sheet, and the molds really have to be buttered and floured if you don't use a spray. But this is actually a great place where the sprays work beautifully. So what I do is I lay out the molds like this, give them a quick spray in one direction, then a quick spray just very quickly in the other direction. Then what I will do is take a small pastry brush, just make sure the entire mold has been covered with the baking spray. So just quickly like this. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the molds that I'll bake the Millanaise in. These are just a miniature brioche mold, but same thing. And we want to make sure that the entire mold, especially when we're using a fluted type of a mold like these, but all of the nooks and crannies really do have to have the coating with our baking spray. Okay, so again, I will take a brush and just go over the mold and make sure everything is covered, every surface. What I'm going to do now is fill a pastry bag with the batter, and I have a large, a ½ plain tip on the end of a disposable bag. So the thing to do is take the top of the bag and turn it out so that you put one hand up in here and hold the bag, and then I'm just using a large, actually a restaurant style kitchen spoon to pick up the batter and place it into the bag. Now, as you can see, I think if this were the just plain toasted almond Financier batter, it would be a little bit more golden and yellow, but this is all pistachio, so the color is actually almost a green, a very earthy olive kind of a green color here. Once the bag is completely filled, just use your fingers kind of like a spatula and push all of the batter down. Try to get any air out of the bag. Then twist to the top and lock it. I'm right-handed, so it's up here. If you were left-handed, it would be this way. And the way to use the bag is to use your non-dominant hand as kind of a guide as you're going along. So right now what I'm going to do is show you how to fill the molds that have been buttered, and then we'll be getting them into the oven. Important thing, no matter what mold you use, if you use the miniature cupcake pan, the barquettes, whatever it might be, you do only want to fill the molds about 3/4 of the way, because these cakes do puff as they bake. What I tend to do is just pipe till the molds are about 3/4 filled. The dough is, the batter rather, it's not a dough, it's a batter. It's pretty stiff, but it's good exercise for your hands. So I'm going to finish piping these Financier, and then I'll pipe the Millanaise. Now I'm just going to space the piped pastries evenly on the sheet. Notice that I am using a jelly roll pan, or a half sheet is what I tend to call them, because it has sides, and sometimes you might get a little bit, like this guy might have a little bit too much in it, so it might come over out of the mold. So best to use this rather than a flat cookie sheet that has no sides. Now I'm going to show you how to make a few friands. I'm not quite sure how many we'll be able to make. Usually the batch makes about 22 to 24 of the rectangular shaped cakes. And I've piped 20, and these little barquette molds really hold less than the rectangular molds. So I think that's going to be about it. I have a little bit of extra batter there. Okay. Now the friand has fresh fruit, so I'm placing a raspberry in each of my 7 little cakes here. Now when you do the friand, actually these guys work best in a mini cupcake pan, but if you do them in some kind of a barquette or other mold, you absolutely must do them in a pan with sides, because the fruit's also going to cook, and raspberries are very juicy. So sometimes you'll get a little bit of juice running all over the place. So don't be upset, it happens. It's just the way they go, okay? Now we're going to get our Financier and friand into a preheated 400-degree oven. Okay, I have piped the Millanaise, and the recipe makes exactly 20 of this size. So as soon as the Financier come out of the oven, we'll get these guys into the preheated oven. I've just taken the Financier out of the oven, and they must be removed from the molds immediately. So I'm going to get them out onto a rack, and they'll cool completely on the rack. I use a skewer and a knife so I could pick them up like this. The Financier take about 20 to 24 minutes. The friand with the raspberry take about 18 minutes to bake. Okay, so I'm going to finish getting these out of the molds. Okay, my alarm just went off, and I'm going to take the Millanaise out of the oven. You can see how beautiful these guys are. And just like the Financier, they do need to come out of the molds immediately. So again, I use a bamboo skewer and a knife, and I just loosen, get the knife under the pastry, and then bring it out. So I'm going to remove the rest of the pastries. Okay, I'm down to the last two Millanaise, and I just use either this, they're cool, they've gotten cooler now, so I actually could lift that one out. The thing I would suggest is getting under with something like a skewer or even a second paring knife, and then I get the knife under it and lift it up and bring it out. So just be careful, make sure you don't get yourself burned. Now let's take a peek at all the finished pastries. So here we go. We've got the friand, the pistachio Financier, and our Millanaise. Well, I hope the video has been helpful, but more than that, I hope you'll try these recipes. The recipes are available at www.abakerspassion.com. So try them and see what you think. And don't be intimidated by having to have special molds. Use anything that you've got. Just try the recipe, because these are wonderful. And of course, this is my favorite time of any baking day, and that's the tasting. Here you can see how rich and moist and wonderful the cakes are. My gosh, the flavor, I took one of the Millanaise, but the flavor of the hazelnut and the perfume is just incredible. So try these guys. For A Baker's Passion, Ray Madursky, have fun and bake as much as you can. Bye-bye.